And he's out. We have a winner by knockout. The burly man's underlings quickly swarmed to his position, still reeling from the punch Eren gave while the other spectators couldn't believe their eyes. A man his size, their boss, knocked out by just a punch. One of his underlings started to approach Eren, threatening him for what he did to their boss, but a voice from the crowd told the man to calm down. At this, Eren and the underling turned to look to see a man with pointed ears, while another person from the crowd called him Chief Reporter Hinch. But the underling didn't want to stop, threatening the man with pointed ears. He was about to take a swing when Hinch glared at him, and this time, it was his turn to threaten the man by saying that the former would find himself in tomorrow's newspaper. Surely, this pub would become pretty popular by then, right? Hearing this, the underling backed up and Hinch used this opportunity to pull Eren away from the pub while saying to our hero that he'll tell him what he needs to know. Soon, they went outside, and that's when Hinch formally introduced himself as the chief reporter of the weekly arena. Judging from Eren's getup, the reporter assumed that Eren was a swordsman and asked for his name. At this, our hero introduced himself and upon hearing his last name, assumed that our MC's not from the West. This time, it's Eren's turn to ask him a question, asking Hinch why he was willing to help him. At this, the reporter thought that he can't really tell our hero that he was just looking for his next big scoop, so what he told Eren instead is that they should help each other while they can, and that he's free at the moment. And with that, they continued walking along with Hinch asking Eren why he wants to meet their champion, and if he was her fan. Eren told him that he was actually a friend of Ilia, and that they haven't seen each other for a while. Upon hearing this, Hinch got more curious since Ilia is known as a strange champion, but our hero just continued to ask the reporter how long Ilia has been in the city. He went on to explain that Ilia became the champion as soon as she arrived and how much of a big deal this was, since it's been a long time since someone this powerful came to the city. Hinch also said that if Ilia continues to reign as champion, then there's a chance she would beat Edenit's record. At this, Eren turned to him and asked if Edenit really was a champion of the land of attestment, but Hinch was even more surprised that our hero didn't know this, considering it's a popular story. Hinch, our hero spent over 10 years sleeping, a year in training, and 5 more years trapped in a magical sphere. What exactly do you expect Eren to know? But back to the story. Hinch told Eren that even the public have started comparing the two lady swordsmen. Edenit reigned for 5 months, and since it's December by now, if Ilia could maintain her crown, then she would be the first swordsman to surpass Edenit's record. Eren didn't say a word after hearing this, but there's a certain look on our hero's face now. In due time, the two men reached the place where Ilia, the current champion, resides. Eren thanked him and went ahead, but Hinch stayed behind a nearby tree, wondering if Eren will get an audience with their champion, especially since even the lords of the manors were turned away. Eren introduced himself as soon as he was face to face with the estate guard, saying he wants to meet Ilia and presented the Lindsay family's platinum card. At this, the guard was shocked and asked our hero to hand it over so he could check and verify it, which Eren gave to him without a fuss. Soon, a dark-skinned woman with orange hair walked out of the estate and met Eren outside. She introduced herself as Emma Garcia, Ilia's bodyguard, and told our hero that her mistress refused to meet him even if his platinum card was real. With that, she apologized and politely told Eren to leave, but Eren was surprised to hear that his friend refused to meet with him. Emma only added that Ilia came here as a swordsman and not as a lady of the Lindsay family, which is why she preferred not to meet him and focus on her training instead. At this, Eren asked if she mentioned his name to Ilia, but Emma told her that she hasn't yet and planned to do so as soon as she got back inside. This time, Eren asked the lady bodyguard to mention his name to Ilia, adding that her friend Eren was there to see her, which Emma did so. It didn't take long before the gates of the manor opened up and Eren was ushered inside by Emma, much to the shock of Hinch, who was watching all of these from behind the tree. He didn't expect our hero to be a real friend of Ilia's at all. Hinch, there are a lot more things that would surprise you about our man Eren. Finally, found himself in front of the door to Ilia's chambers and knocked before he heard someone from inside tell him to come in. But before he did, Eren took a deep breath and opened the door to her chambers, greeting Ilia with a smile. The champion greeted him back, sitting on the table, and before long, had him sit with her. Guys, Ilia is in a dress. That's not something you get to see every day. Now that he's face to face with Ilia, she asked him what his excuse was for being late all these years, but our hero could only laugh in embarrassment and tells her that he'll explain everything. After what seems to be forever, Eren finally reached the latest happenings on his adventure, where he is now joined by Brett and Judith, who all decided to go here to the land of attestment. Ilya didn't say much about their adventures and only mentioned how a lot of things have happened to Aaron, and after a short pause, our hero told him that they came to see her match yesterday, just as soon as they reached the city. He also said that he was happy to see that she even grew stronger from when they last met, but this time, our hero can't help but comment on how she seems unstable to his eyes. Aaron added that this might just be a wild guess, but he thinks the reason Ilya came to the land of attestment is because of Ednet. At the mention of her name, Ilya's soft look at our hero turned into a glare and she started to emit a dark and threatening aura, asking him what he was getting at. Aaron noticed that her aura continues to grow intense by the minute, but continued to tell the champion that he hasn't forgotten the year they spent at Chronos Swordsmanship Academy. Not even for a moment, and even now. He says that he placed a high value on the times they spent there, especially now that he's reminiscing about it, and grows fond at the thought of all the valuable people he met there. But out of all of them, Ilya is someone special to Aaron since she was the one who first reached out and helped him when he was struggling back then. Aaron told Ilya outright that his relationship with her makes it more precious than the others. If we didn't know the whole context of this story, then I bet a lot of you probably think we turned Shujo and our hero just confessed his feelings to the leading lady. But back to Aaron's dramatic dialogue. Our hero even reminded her of what she said after the final evaluation, saying she would no longer be swayed by others. So he urged her to stop this while she still can. But Ilya didn't say a word and only gritted her teeth. Our hero tries one more time to convince her by saying that nothing will change if she keeps on trying to chase Ednet, but Ilya already stood up and admitted to him that she couldn't break free from how people looked at her. Just then, her aura turned sinister as soon as she thought about the dang parasites that just couldn't get enough no matter how much she tried. The champion went on to grab her sword and said that she has done her best over and over again just so they would stop slandering her brother and the Lindsay family's name, but the answer came to her in the form of her sword. Now manic, but with an even more sinister aura, Ilya continued that the aura sword has been telling her that she was on the right path and that she was not wrong. If anything, Ilya said that the wrong one is her past self, and is now in an agitated say, asking Aaron if he has anything else to say to her. But our hero calmly stood up, confirming if she has chosen to do anything to keep the champion title, no matter what, to which she affirmed. Hearing this, Aaron told her that he knows what to do now, which made her flinch. But our hero only confirmed to her again that there are only 120 days left before she could break Ednet's record. And if that is so, before it happens, Aaron vowed to take Ilya down no matter what it takes. At this, our hero looked at her in all seriousness while emitting a golden glow from his aura. Ilya couldn't believe what she just heard, but Aaron is more determined than ever, adding that he's going to take her down once she has to defend her title 4 months from now. Now this is a battle we wouldn't want to miss, but Ilya could only ask if he's being serious, and he said he was. Moreover, our hero thinks that if he beats her then, maybe she'll take his words a little more seriously, then proceeds to walk away from her. But Ilya, having the pride of a champion, somewhat mocked Aaron if he thinks he could really beat her, to which Aaron admitted that with his ability right now, he can't. This is why he's going to train hard so that he'll be able to. And before he walked out, Aaron apologized to Ilya for how their conversation turned for the worse, especially since they haven't seen each other in a long while. Moreover, our hero tells her that he still considers Ilya his most precious friend, though it's a bit embarrassing to say it out loud. With that, he bade her goodbye and walked out of her chambers. Back at the inn, Kubaru and Brett sat at the table as Judith lay on the bed with Lulu, thinking about Ilya. The redhead was aware that their co-training has gotten stronger, but knowing that the latter achieved swordmaster level was a little too much for her to process. Judith knows that Ilya is way above her level though, but maybe in a couple of years. She didn't get to finish that trail of thought since she sprung up and promised to beat everyone one day, shocking Lulu awake. The sorcerer cat told the redhead how she scared her, but Judith was nice enough to apologize when the door to their room opened, and in comes Aaron. Lulu asked where he went, and that's when he revealed to the group that he went to see Ilya, shocking both Kubaru and Brett. What's more, Brett is even more appalled at his friend challenging Ilya. But Aaron was serious with the challenge, telling Brett he'll do so in 4 months, but Brett could only question his blonde friend's life decisions. Meanwhile, Judith, who has been quiet all this time, could only hang her mouth with all she's hearing. And while Brett could only frown upon Aaron's decision, Lulu kept a positive mindset and believes our hero would win. Then there's Kubaru, who also shares Brett's realistic take on what our hero plans. A sword master is in a different league after all, even if Aaron is strong. Our hero is well aware of this fact, but he doesn't care even if Ilya is a sword master, since he believes this challenge is something that he has to do and that he's bent on winning no matter what. Our man said it with so much conviction that Judith is left speechless once again. In fact, the resident's loudmouthed redhead is feeling something dark budding in her heart that just made her grit her teeth in frustration. But suddenly, Judith returned to her usual cheerful self and encouraged Aaron with his plan. And while she's at it, the redhead said that she'd also challenge Ilya before walking out of the room to train. Outside, Judith thought that she can't sit still, not after hearing our hero talk like that. Back in their room, Brett commented that Aaron seems to have encouraged Judith with his idea, then turned to ask him if he has a plan. But Aaron wholeheartedly said that he doesn't have one, which is why he's going to cook up something now and ask the blue-haired noble how can he beat Ilya. Are we even surprised that Aaron's winging this one as well? And of course, he had to ask Brett how he could defeat Ilya, while Brett only sighs in exasperation, thinking what he did to deserve something like this. But even if the blue-haired noble complains about it, obviously he'll still help our hero out. Brett says it's not impossible to beat Ilya since there have been 3 recorded instances when a high-ranked expert swordsman beat a swordmaster. Even Kubaru attested to this, saying he has heard of this as well. But to do that, Brett says there are 3 conditions that need to be met. First, Aaron needs a sword strong enough to withstand an aura sword, which prompted him to ask our hero how strong his sword was. Aaron thought about what Vulcanus and the other dwarfs said about his sword being so sturdy that they can't even put a dent in it. So he just told Brett his blade won't break easily, since a lot of trustworthy people vouched for it. Hearing that, Brett gave the okay, which prompted him to condition number 2. Aaron needs to have his own technique, something that the opponent can't predict. Brett said that for Aaron, it should be his signature vertical slash, and advised our hero that he needs to refine it so that he can use it freely during a fight. Aaron promised to work hard on it, intent on beating Ilya. However, Brett pointed out that hard work doesn't always equal results, but since it's Aaron they're talking about, they just don't know how things might turn out. And excuse me, Brett, but hard work can beat effort, just ask Rock Lee. And now, for the last and most important condition. Brett said that Aaron's swordsmanship needs to be on par with a swordmaster. He went on to say how Ilya became a swordmaster because she worked hard for it, and it's not because she just got lucky, emphasizing that she's a true swordmaster because she perfected her swordsmanship before completing her aura. With that, the blue-haired noble told Aaron that things could get pretty hard for him if he can't narrow the difference in skill between him and Ilya. But Aaron just said that he'll do his best with the remaining time, and that's when Hinch sprung out of the blue, excitedly asking if Aaron will really challenge the champion, making Brett splash beer on his face. Aaron was just as surprised at the reporter's sudden appearance, but Hinch is already thinking how he was right. There is something about Aaron, and it was worth tailing him. And as a reporter, he can't miss out on a scoop this big. Lulu only pointed out that Hinch was an elf, prompting him to introduce himself to the rest of Aaron's group. But Brett only threw him a bombastic side-eye as he wiped the beer off his face and asked if the elf had been eavesdropping on them all along. Hinch just told him that he just happened to hear what they were saying since he has sensitive ears, but then turned his attention to Aaron. The elf said that he heard all the conditions Brett listed down, but it seems that the blue-haired missed a single detail which made Brett question himself if he did. But Hinch continued and said that the 4th condition that needs to be met is in terms of the stage. According to him, the stage that a challenger can stand on solely depends on their rank, and explained the hierarchy to the group by saying that a challenger receives a rank at the beginning and then progressively gets promoted to a higher rank the more they undergo ranking battles. Moreover, only the top 10 swordsmen who have reached the king level could challenge the champion. But here's the thing, even if Aaron meets all the qualifications, there's a lot of competition going on, so it's going to be hard to seek the champion for a challenge unless he could catch the public's attention. And that's the 4th condition, according to Hinch. Now that he's heard it, everything made sense to Kubaru. The fortune-teller orc told Hinch that they just need to make Aaron the talk of the town, which the elf affirmed and said that our hero needs to increase his commercial value as a swordsman. Then with sparkling eyes, Hinch turned to Aaron, pleading with our hero to let him help with this, and even promised to turn Aaron into the biggest star the land of Attestment has ever seen. The next day, they quickly got to work starting at the training grounds of the Land of Beginnings. Like in many other battles, there's that one reporter who has a lot to say to fledgling swordsmen, but now he's busy scribbling notes upon learning that 2 of Chrono's Swordsmanship Academy's trainees from the Golden Generation were participating today. He was quick to identify Brett Lloyd as one of the rising stars, as well as Judith, who he described as a commoner swordsman on par with Brett's level. This bald reporter's pretty fired up since both Brett and Judith cleared all 3 of their matches easily. And if his assumptions are right, then they'll most likely rank up to Bishop soon. He's intent on getting this story first before the weekly arena, thinking he has a better scoop than Hinch. As soon as Brett and Judith finished their matches, reporters swarmed around them, asking a variety of questions, from why they went to the land of attestment, or if they'd want to prove the strength of the Midland region in their area, but the two only moved forward and refused to answer any questions, even from the bald reporter. Just then, another reporter called out to Baldy, but the latter is too annoyed and scolds the former for not keeping an eye on Kara's and Tristan's matches. His underling told him that both matches were already done. Then, we caught a glimpse of a bearded swordsman in the midst of an attack, but in one swift movement, Aaron passed him by, and as soon as he did, the bearded swordsman's blade shattered instantly. Back to the underling reporter, he told his boss that those two swordsmen he named lost to this young man, who's none other than our hero. After this match, Hinch was quick to catch Aaron for a quick interview, stating our hero's name and confirming if he was part of Chrono's 27th cohort as well. The rest of the reporters only questioned him since they didn't know who Aaron was but scribbled down what Hinch said anyway, thinking the elf has no reason to lie about such a thing. Once they heard that he was indeed part of the 27th cohort, the reporters started asking our hero about Brett and Judith, and more so about their reason for coming here. Hearing all this, Aaron remembered Hinch's coaching from last night, telling him that he should sound ambitious and confident, so our hero told these reporters that he can't answer on behalf of his co-trainees. Instead, he told them about his pledge. As a proud swordsman of Chrono's Swordsmanship Academy, Aaron announced that he'll defeat all of his opponents with a single blow till he reaches queen level. At this, Hinch only smiled at him while Aaron continued and said that his goal here is to prove himself and not to train. He wrapped it up by proclaiming that you will become the champion. This is war. It didn't take long before our trio became the talk of the town, seeing how they all reached bishop level easily as soon as they showed up, while another claimed how impressive their matches were when he saw them yesterday. These two men were busy reading today's paper, with one of them commenting how he has never heard of Aaron despite being part of Chrono's 27th cohort, but the other answered him, saying that Aaron left Chrono after a little while for unknown reasons, and the former was surprised to read that Aaron aims to become the champion, calling it a fat dream. But his companion only said that having at least one obnoxious character makes this all the more entertaining. Back at their inn, Hinch looks pretty happy seeing that Aaron's interview is a pretty good start and people are definitely talking about him right now. Our hero was relieved to hear that so now. Hinch bade them goodbye so he could work on a follow-up story, and away he went. As soon as he left the room, Aaron asked Brett if Judith went out to train again, and the latter explained that their redhead friend will continue training by herself for a while, and then took a seat in front of our hero. As soon as he was seated, Brett told Aaron that there was something he's been meaning to ask our hero and pointed out that Aaron has been pretty restless for a while now, even while he was doing the interview earlier. That being said, he questioned Aaron why he was willing to go that far to beat Ilya. At this, our hero turned his head down and was quiet for a moment before he finally told Brett everything. At this, the blue-haired noble couldn't believe that Ilya may be turning into a demon, but Aaron could only sigh and confirm that she was. Our hero told his friend that he thinks once negative emotions start to build up inside someone, like negativity and rage, then this sets off their transformation to becoming a demon, similar to how the brothers Victor and Charlotte were a couple of chapters ago. Aaron pointed out that there are times people could overcome these negative emotions like how Jet did, but in the case of Ilya, our hero said that he felt similar demonic energy emanating from her. This is the reason why Aaron is hellbent on defeating Ilya, since if he can't stop her now, then she'll most likely succumb to the energy and get taken over one day. Now that he heard Aaron's reason, Brett told him to just keep this between them and not tell Judith since he doesn't know how their friend will react upon knowing this. But back to the main issue, Brett told our hero that it's not easy to defeat Ilya with only 4 months worth of training, but still. Aaron said that he has to try and do what he can. Suddenly, Lulu popped out of the top bunk shouting at Aaron for not telling the sorcerer cat about such an important detail. Brett only turned, not even surprised, and asked that wasn't this cat supposed to be with Kubaru. But Lulu is now focused on Aaron, confirming if what the cat heard is right about his need to improve drastically in a matter of months. Aaron affirmed and asked his sorcery teacher if he could do anything, and Lulu said it's possible with sorcery, emitting an aura as the cat said so. This time, Lulu told Aaron that it was time for a special lesson and said that with every swing he makes, Aaron needs to swing with a powerful wish in mind. That same night, back at the champion's estate, Ilya sits in the dark, thinking about Aaron while holding the bracelet he has given her years ago. She furrows her brow and can't believe how Aaron could not understand her, out of all people. She continues to hold the bracelet he gave her and convinces herself that they're just misunderstanding one another, which is why Ilya decided to go and meet the priest. A mentally unstable girl with a priest? Sounds like trouble to me. Back to our hero. Aaron set out the next day with Lulu to go seek John Drew, one of the top instructors in town that Hinch told our hero about. Since he's got a week before his next match, our hero decided to meet with this instructor. As soon as they reached the front gates of his manor, they were greeted by a flock of people hoping they could get a chance to train with John Drew. Aaron approached one of the guards, saying he came upon the recommendation of Hinch, and fortunately, the latter acknowledged our hero and led him to the instructor's estate proper. Lulu and Aaron couldn't believe their eyes at how grandiose the place was, since they had to take a carriage to go from the gates to the reception room. Can you imagine living in a place where you have to be escorted to the receiving area from the gates via carriage? Me neither. Sucks to be us, man. En route to the reception, the guard asked Aaron if he was here to seek a lesson with his master, which Aaron answered yes, but the former warned him that this may be a difficult feat, especially since John Drew is pretty content with his life right now. Moreover, he warned that his master wouldn't budge easily no matter the price, but he admits that John Drew does love money, but Aaron and Lulu were unfazed. Later, as the master and students sat in the drawing room, Aaron asks his master what he thinks about the situation, but the cat isn't worried at all, especially since John Drew supposedly likes money. Just then, a voice sounded telling Aaron that he was much younger than he thought, and in comes Viscount John Drew, House Drew. Our hero quickly got up to introduce himself while John confirmed if Hinch was the one who sent him to his residence. Aaron answered yes, and without further ado, the lord of the house talked business and asked our hero if he was prepared to pay a fine price for his services. And that's when Lulu intervened. The sorcerer cat said that it will pay for the services, while John was shocked at seeing a talking cat and asked if Lulu was a sorcerer. Using sorcery, Lulu procured golden mice as payment for John's services, and from the looks of it, the latter's mouth starts to drool and his greediness started to show. Since it doesn't seem to be enough, Lulu procured a whole lot more using sorcery, and this time, the instructor let out a loud gasp at what he was seeing. It didn't take long for him to accept Aaron under his wing, bowing to both Lulu and our hero that he'll do his best to guide, and while Lulu commented that this is how money should be used. They quickly moved to a different and larger room, with John telling our hero to show him all the swordsmanship techniques he knows. Aaron was confused for a moment before John explained that he'll be able to decide on an effective way to train him once he analyzed our hero's physical abilities, swordsmanship, battle sense, habits, and mannerisms. With this, our hero only looked at Lulu, to which his sorcery master gave him the nod of agreement, but not before a quick flashback. Before he went to seek John Drew, Lulu made Aaron focus and concentrate on his swinging, reminding him that with every swing, the earnest wish to save Ilya must be present. The sorcerer cat urged Aaron to imbue that very thought into every swing. Back to the present, Aaron closes his eyes and takes a deep breath while remembering his earnest wish. As for Ilya, the champion kneels in front of a man in a hood on an altar somewhere. Ilya prays and asks the priest if everything she has done so far is meaningful, or if maybe they were all just pointless. The champion reveals to the priest that she's unsure if she's still walking on the right path. Then at the same time, we have Aaron, who's busy swinging his sword with the very intent of saving Ilya. Back to her, the priest told her not to be afraid and taps her head as Aaron continues to showcase his skills in front of John Drew. One powerful swing after another as a faint glow starts to emanate from his body. Just then, the hooded priest tells Ilya that she silenced all kinds of envy, jealousy, criticism, and ridicule, and further advised her not to be swayed by a simple breeze. As he said this, he reached out to Ilya, his hands emitting a violet glow, while Aaron takes a big swing, saying he'll become stronger. And as he did so, a force started to build up around him. John and Lulu were shocked by the latter pointing out that Aaron managed to use sorcery and created his own training space. Our hero is now inside a blue sphere that acts like a force field. Back to Ilya again. The hooded priest tells Ilya to continue devoting herself until all the wind in the world disappears, giving the champion a sinister smile while Aaron continues with his swings, telling himself that he'll save Ilya. But the champion has fallen under the priest's words. Between you and me, I think it's a golden rule to stay away from any hooded figures in general, since we don't know if they're friends or foes. But Ilya didn't know any better. Aaron's training space maintains its form and envelops our hero, with John surprised at our hero's sorcery. Lulu explains that the space is created through his wishes, where he'll achieve the progress he wants to attain there, oblivious to his surroundings. Aaron continues to swing his sword while his sorcery master orders John not to interrupt his training until our hero stops on his own. It took a while before Aaron put down his sword and took a breather, and as soon as he did, his training space started to fade and Lulu approached to confirm if he was done with his training. Before he could answer, the little mystic asked our hero if he doesn't feel tired, especially since he's been swinging his sword for a whole week. Upon hearing that, Aaron turned to Lulu in shock and find it hard to believe that so much time has passed already. But Lulu assumed that he must not have been aware of this, but more important than that, the cat asked Aaron if he made some progress. Our hero thought about it a little and only said that things had become a little clearer as he smacked his fist into his hand with a loud whack. Moreover, Aaron also thinks that his senses might have sharpened. Just then, John comes walking toward them and told our hero that they have more pressing matters to attend to. His next battle is today at 2:00 p.m., but Aaron was only mildly surprised. In all honesty, Aaron's level of chill is something we should all attain if you want my 2 cents. Now, later that afternoon, an impressive crowd is gathered at the arena for the bishop-level duel. It's Dominic versus our boy Aaron. The announcer introduced our hero as the ambitious swordsman from Chrono Academy, while also questioning if he would keep his one-strike pledge. At this, the crowd started talking about Aaron's one-strike pledge until he reached the queen level, saying how ridiculous this was, but the fact of the matter is a lot of people came today who are curious about him. As soon as the announcer signaled the start of the match, Dominic came rushing toward Aaron, desperate to land the first blow, but all our hero could think about is how it was different from before. As Dominic braced himself for a big swing, Aaron raised his sword to counter-swing it, and as soon as he did, there was a loud clash with a force so great. Dominic's mouth hung open to see his blade cut in half, while our hero thought that he can see his opponent's movements more clearly now. There was a deafening noise as the crowd went wild with cheer, and the announcer declared the match is over with Aaron as the winner. Even the naysayers from before couldn't believe what happened, seeing him win with just a single strike. As soon as Aaron stepped off the stage, a crowd of reporters immediately swarmed him and congratulated our hero on his win. They were eager to catch a word or two from the rising star, asking how he feels right now, but Aaron remained passive and just told them that he just kept his promise and will continue to do so until he reaches the queen level. Man, that's a cool outro. And all the reporters thought so too, which is why they're even bent on getting more out of Aaron, but our hero just walked away. Currently, the pub is ringing with Aaron's name and how he defeated Dominic, a bishop-level swordsman, with one strike. You can trust the folks to overhype Aaron's win even more, and now his accomplishments from before are being brought up, like how he defeated a demonoid from before based on an interview with Hill Burnett. The majority, if not all of the people from the bar, are eager to know when our hero's next match is. Now that he's done with his match, Aaron returned to John's estate and his instructor greeted him, saying that he saw our hero's match earlier. In addition, his instructor finally figured out what Aaron lacks. The older man told Aaron that his swordsmanship is way too formulated and that he needed to incorporate a few unconventional and irregular movements into it as well. In line with this, he told Aaron that he'll teach him a couple of skills, but before he could finish it, the older man pointed out something behind Aaron that made our hero turn to look. No sooner than he did that, John spat on Aaron, but thankfully, the latter managed to avoid it. "That's just nasty, brah." Aaron just looked at him, taken aback at what he did, but John was already brushing it off as if he didn't do one of the most disgusting things ever and apologized to Aaron, saying it was just a joke. As a sign of apology, he offered him a handshake, but Aaron's already disgusted. Looking at the spit on John's hand when our hero finally realized it, the older man already had a blade pointed at him. John told his student that for him, swordsmanship is all about following through with intentions while disrupting opponents. Additionally, he also said that it's about gaining the upper hand through tricks and mind games. So now, what our hero needs to learn is something people call ploys. Finally, somebody needed to teach our MC about the streets, so this is a good start, though I always thought he learned it from Judith. So for the next 10 days, John had his hands full training Aaron with various ploys, and it didn't take long for our hero to get the hang of it. True to his teachings, John did use a lot of ploys, including multiple weapons such as mace and a sword on our boy. But Aaron cannot be stopped by things like these and managed to fend off his instructor's attack as the older man jumped back. And as he did, he can't help but be impressed at how Aaron learned all of John Drew's ploy tactics in just 10 days. What's even more impressive is that he just taught him that, but our hero grew incredibly stronger compared to before. Later that night, as Aaron lies asleep, he started having the same dream, and this time, he has become more wary. It's been a while since he returned to the place after all, but what's more surprising is the fact that the man swinging the sword looks much older, which made Aaron question if the former is gradually aging. Now he can't help but wonder why he showed up this time and was curious about what the older man has to say, but before anything else, Aaron started to get down on his knees. Our hero thought that he'll accept the old man's help if that's what the other man is doing, but at the same time, he also told him in his mind that he'll decline the offer if the older man plans to get into our hero's way. Aaron got into his meditative position and thought that he will no longer be dragged along to the old man's will, and as he did, he started to emit his golden aura while also thinking that he will move forward to the things he desired most through his own will. Back in the real world, the sleeping Aaron continues to emit his golden aura as Lulu took a closer look at him. The sorcerer cat thought that even in his sleep, Aaron can do image training now, which made the cat comment on how impressive his dedication is. Does our MC even rest? Even God rested on the seventh-day man. Then came Aaron's next fight, and like his previous one, he managed to not only overpower and defeat his opponent with one strike, but he also managed to destroy the other swordsman's blade. This routine went on for his next 3 fights, that in 3 days, our hero easily attained Rook level. Aaron keeps winning all of his matches one by one, that he also started to have his own fans, seeing how unstoppable he was. But even if the whole crowd was celebrating with him, there was one person who became speechless at his accomplishment, Judith. What could be running into the redhead's mind seeing her friend achieve things like that? It's only a matter of time before Aaron could come face to face the champion, as the announcer's voice boomed about how there's no one left in the land of opportunity to challenge him, so now he has officially been promoted to queen level. Our Aaron is set to conquer the land of glory next. The whole arena chanted Aaron's name as our hero only looked back and gave a small smile. Meanwhile, from the stands, Kubaru, Lulu, and Brett were so happy to see their friend's achievement and were beaming with pride. Even Brett admits that he couldn't believe how strong Aaron has gotten and was just about to ask Judith what she plans to do. But the blue-haired noble didn't get to finish what he was saying, since Judith stood up without a word and walked away without even looking back. As Judith made her exit, the redhead thought that she would never lose when it comes to tenacity and believed that her will was the strongest. But seeing what Aaron has achieved lately made Judith question if she's unable to beat him in anything. As she grows more frustrated and occupied by her thoughts, Judith failed to notice what's in front of her and accidentally bumped into someone, making the other drop his book. The lady swordsman picked it up and apologized as she handed the book back to the hooded figure, and as she turned to walk away, the man called out to Judith and removed his hood with a smile, asking if she has a moment to spare. Wait a minute, white hood and robes akin to a priest? This can't be the same priest as Ilias, right? Back to our hero. He proceeds to his next match, and this time, there's more action finally. Aaron's opponent raises his sword and slashes the ground our hero used to stand on, sending rocks and debris flying everywhere. After that, the other swordsman followed it up with a barrage of attacks that Aaron evades, making the older swordsman pissed. So he decided to change tactics and settle for a surprise attack behind Aaron, but our hero already saw this coming. The older swordsman thought he could catch Aaron with this attack, making a big swing, but as soon as his blade was about to make contact with our hero, Aaron disappeared. And this time, it's Aaron's turn for a surprise attack behind the older swordsman, sending a thrust his way. The older man could only scream in fright as Aaron stopped his attack with his sword, almost cutting his opponent. And the match is over. Aaron wins once again. The crowd goes wild again as the announcer voiced out that our hero's winning streak doesn't show any signs of stopping anytime soon, and that no one expects that he'll be beaten. He just needs one more win before he gets promoted to king level. Is queen level child's play for him? Later that night, Kubaru and Brett sat together to celebrate their friend's recent wins, since the plan has been going so well so far. Brett even commented that various articles have been written about their friend, then Kubaru brought up that Judith is almost at queen level as well. The blue-haired noble confirmed and added that her next match is a promotion duel. And that's when Kubaru turned the conversation about Brett, asking him why he's not as dedicated to dueling as his 2 other friends. Moreover, the fortune teller orc said that Brett is not attached to his sword, unlike Aaron and Judith, but Brett just drank. So Kubaru proceeded to ask him why he was like that. To this, Brett put down his drink and remembered about his time at Chrono, when he first knew that he was graduating. The blue-haired noble stood in front of Sir Ian in his office, asking the head swordmaster if he was not taking a test, but Sir Ian was puzzled, asking what test he was talking about. That's when the young swordsman told him that Judith told Brett that she was sent to see and experience the world, which would serve as training for her test. But Sir Ian answered that this was only for trainees who lacked something, and because the older swordsman believes that Brett has all the qualifications, there was no need for him to take the test anymore. In line with that, the head swordsmaster declared him an official graduate of Chrono's Swordsmanship Academy and congratulated him. Back to the present, Brett only smiled and said something to Kubaru, which made the fortune-teller orc applaud him. Wait, what did he say? Why was this blurred out in the comics? Just then, the door opened, and in comes Judith with her head down and a blank look on her face. The blue-haired noble approached his friend with worry, asking what kind of training she has just been doing, but Judith only looked at him and told Brett to spar with her right now. This doesn't look good. Brett went along with Judith's wishes, and soon, the two stood in the middle of a clearing in a forest, with Brett asking her how she managed to find a place like this. He was all smiles and told her that he'd like to see how effective her training has been while drawing his sword. But Judith was serious and different tonight, calling out to him like that. Even Brett noticed that she seems different from usual when Judith got in a position with the same blank expression and told him that she wants him to be serious. At this, the blue-haired noble obliged. With Judith like that, did the priest get to her too? Back to our hero, he exclaimed in shock, prompting Lulu to ask him what was wrong, but Aaron was surprised something to see surrounding his body now. At this, the sorcerer cat asked if Aaron was talking about his aura and if he wasn't able to see it before. Aaron told his teacher that he could only sense it, but he never saw it before. The little mystic told him that this is actually a good thing, since it just proves that his newly heightened senses from training made all of this possible, as Aaron admires his glowing aura. Just then, John Drew's butler comes running and informed our hero that his next match is already set. Aaron asked when, and the other man said it was tomorrow, but the main cause of his concern is his opponent. The next day, an even bigger crowd is present at the arena as their voices boom with the announcer announcing the main match for the day and introducing the star of the Chrono Storm and the current strongest rookie, Aaron. The crowd cheered as the announcer continued, and this time named our hero's opponent as someone who has just been promoted to queen level. Known for her fiery spirit, it was said that she was the one who issued the challenge, and it was none other than Judith, Chrono's counter swordsman. Judith has also garnered several fans who cheered for her, but Brett could only look at her with a forlorn face from the stands. A battle between two Chrono trainees, which is also an unavoidable match between comrades. The crowd is more hyped than ever and is curious who will be deemed victor of the match. As soon as Aaron stepped on the stage, he asked what Judith was thinking since she chose him as her next opponent, but Judith found his question amusing. In turn, she asked him if it wasn't obvious enough and proclaimed that she challenged him because she wants to fight. Judith is fiercer today, claiming that she'll surpass Aaron this time and will go after Ilya next. No sooner had she said this than the announcer started the match, and Judith dashed straight to our hero, their swords clashing with so much force that debris started to fly in all directions. Meanwhile, Aaron only told her to give her best shot as he puts more pressure into his blade and proclaimed that he was not backing down either, his aura glowing brighter than ever. Both swordsmen broke off from their clash, and it was Judith who started running toward Aaron again, and her blade met him in another powerful blow. But it didn't stop there. The red-headed swordsman started a barrage of intense and quick attacks that a cloud of smoke formed on Aaron's position, thanks to the dust and debris. Done with the attack, Judith paused to see what happens next when she realized his blade is about to make contact with her face. The crowd couldn't believe such a powerful technique, impressed with Aaron's skills, and Brett even admits that she's being overpowered by our hero. Just then, Aaron told Judith to brace for his attack as it was his turn to be on the offensive this time. Judith managed to parry and fend off his attacks, but it was pretty obvious she was struggling as she did so. Judith couldn't wrap her head around Aaron's raw power, thinking that he wasn't like this when they were training back then, and wondered what he's been doing since. She also knew that if she made just one wrong move, then her sword will end up flying, and it was bad enough that it was starting to crack. Still, the redhead admits that he's at a level that she can't handle, and that it's hard enough just trying to fend off his attacks. With one more blow, Aaron pushed Judith back with his swing, and that's when she realized that the gap between them is too unreal, as she stood panting for breath while Aaron remains unfazed. At this, Judith starts to wonder what she needs to do to win the match and even questions herself if she can beat him. But just then, she gritted her teeth and lunged at him for another attack, thinking that she'll just keep at it until he collapses. Judith continues her attacks and plans to do so until Aaron collapses, once again clashing their swords with so much intensity. Just then, Judith lunged and jumped, thinking she could catch Aaron off guard with a mid-air attack, but Aaron countered her attack with another powerful swing. There was a loud thunk as Judith had her hands over her head, sword nowhere in sight. as the announcer declared Aaron as the winner. The next thing we know, Aaron is standing at a podium in front of a crowd as cameras flash to take his photo. As usual, Hinch was the first in line to ask him a question. Now that Aaron reached king level and is near the end of the land of attestment, the elf questions if he really has no plans to stop. Aaron answered by saying his goal hasn't changed and that he won't stop until he achieved it. He also declared that he will take anyone who tries to get in his way, then wrapped up the interview. As he descended the podium, Kubaru, Lulu, and Brett stood waiting for him with his sorcery teacher congratulating him on his promotion. The blue-haired noble joked about Aaron getting comfortable with the interviews and remarked about his friend's looks, but our hero only brushed it off. More importantly, Aaron asked where Judith was, but Brett was silent for a moment before telling our hero that she disappeared after the match. Moreover, he explained that she was probably disappointed and advised to give her some space for a little while, which Aaron agreed to. Now, it's already night and Judith has not come home for 2 days, making Brett sigh in exasperation as he sat on the bed. He thought that the disappointment must have really gotten to her badly this time and remembered that she was at a similar level with Aaron not too long ago. Sadly, she was overpowered this time, and the fact of the matter is, she was pretty serious about winning over Aaron this time around. Brett remembered that she was also a bit restless, and that's when it hit him. Remembering the day before the match, Judith looked oddly grim. Then he flashbacks to his previous conversation with Aaron about how pent-up negative emotions like negativity and rage sets off a transformation. Without another second to waste, Brett ran off into the night looking for Judith, assuming that something bad may have happened to her. He searched everywhere and even went back to the arena to check if she was there, but unfortunately for him, she wasn't. Out of breath, Brett's on his knees and racking his brain on the places she may have gone to when he remembered the training grounds in the forest. So the blue-haired noble made a run for it while fervently praying that Judith didn't undergo what he thought she might. Back to the priest, the white-robed man was having his dinner and remembered the events a few days before when he asked Judith if she would like to pray together with him. And then we get back to Brett, who had finally reached the clearing, huffing, and saw Judith sitting silently atop a large rock. He approached her and called out her name, but stopped once he saw what she was doing. Back to the priest again. This shady man drank his wine silently, thinking that it was such a shame that the red-headed swordsman turned down her offer, explaining she has other things to do. So she wasn't influenced by the priest after all. That's a relief. But okay, back to the two, one last time for this chapter. A stream of tears fell on Judith's cheeks as she told Brett that even she was aware, from the moment their swords first clashed, that she couldn't win against Aaron. Then she turned to shout at Brett, explaining that she's been doing her best and working hard to catch up and surpass him, but every single time, their gap widens. By now, Judith is sobbing and sniffling hard, frustrated at her loss as Brett came closer, and this time, she raised her head and met his eyes, all wet with tears. This was the first time that Judith has ever shown vulnerability, which made the blue-haired noble's eyes widen in shock as she clung on to him and sobbed hard. This was the moment Brett realized that Judith will never change. Once again, he's reminded of that time back in Sir Ian's office, when Brett asked the older man if he could delay his graduation. He reasoned out that he, too, would like to go on a journey and said that he may be able to learn a few things on the way as well. Brett promised Sir Ian that he will return one day with Judith, and then fast forward to the time when he and Kubaru were talking about why this noble was not as attached to his sword as his comrades. Brett revealed to the fortune-teller orc that he might have found something more important than the sword for him. So that was the blurred line from earlier. Who knew Brett would be the romantic type? Now, at the present, as Judith sobbed to Brett, he put his hand on her shoulder and thought that he would protect Judith, who only continued to cry for a good while. Our ship finally sailed, everyone. That's 5 years in the making. It's another day at the arena, and as usual, people came to watch which swordsman will be hailed victor today. But many of the spectators are preoccupied, whispering among themselves if it really was Irene Pereira standing over there. For a change, our hero's not exchanging blows with fellow swordsmen today. Instead, he's busy watching king-level matches. One of the things Aaron came to understand in king-level matches is that all of the swordsmen fight using their auras. Right now, 2 swordsmen battle it out with one of them surrounded by a white light as his aura while the other swordsman has red as his. Aaron noted that both swordmasters' auras intensify around the shoulder and arms as they swing, and as he said this, one of the swordsmen took a swing at his opponent which the other avoided by focusing his aura on his legs and leaping through the air. Another observation Aaron noticed is that the aura around their lower bodies gets stronger as they move. As soon as he said this, The swordsman with the white aura landed on the stage and dashed straight to his opponent, but the other was ready. The swordsman with the red aura took a swing to counter the other, but his opponent ducked and managed to checkmate him, his blade already pointed on the other's face. As soon as he did, the announcer proclaimed that the white-haired man called Donovan is the winner. Back to Aaron's observations, our hero noticed that even though the red swordsman had more mana, he was defeated by his opponent. This just goes to show that how you use your mana throughout the fight will determine who wins the match. Shortly after the fight, the people started exiting the arena, including our hero. He was deep in thought, thinking that he needs to master utilizing his aura if he wants to close the gap he has with Ilya, and decided that he should train as soon as possible. And that's when he heard Brett, asking if he came to see the match as well, and our hero greeted him since it's been a while since he saw his friend. The blue-haired noble asked him what he thought of the match since king-level matches are on a different level, and Aaron could only agree, adding that it was a good reference for him. Suddenly, our hero changed the topic and asked if Judith already came back, but Brett only glanced to the side before answering Aaron. Before our hero could notice what he did, Brett answered Aaron that Judith came back a couple of days ago, which brightened our hero. He even said that he'll drop by the inn sometime soon, and without another word, our hero went on his way. As soon as he's out of sight, out comes Judith from one of the columns, walking stiffly as Brett asked her why she hid like that and if she was trying to avoid Aaron. But Judith was shocked at this presumption, feigning ignorance as if she didn't know Aaron was just here. Moreover, her excuse was that she just got back from the bathroom, but Brett only looked at her. Before he could ask any further, Judith awkwardly walked off in the other direction, saying that she'll be resuming her training and to call her if there's another good match going on. Brett could only sigh and smile at Judith's silliness, and thought that it will take some time before she gets comfortable with Aaron again. Fast forward to a few days later, Aaron continues to train with his aura, focused on going through the motion while at the same time gathering aura into the region that he wants to strengthen. Even Aaron realized that he's been using this principle all this time, but now that he has an image in mind, it's not that hard to do so anymore. Now, his only concern is how he can train and make his control better, since aura application seems like an abstract concept to him. Just then, Lulu came waltzing in and asked him if he'll be matching today's match as well, and our hero affirmed, saying this is one match he wouldn't miss for the world, and picked up Lulu as he said so. Man, don't we all wish we have a cute and powerful talking cat as our advisor? There's a reason Aaron wouldn't miss this match, and it's because it is the championship defense match for February. As the announcer proclaimed this, the crowd cheered loudly, and even more so when the reigning champion, Ilya Lindsay, stepped into the stage, and for today, her opponent is the 4th-ranked swordsman, the veteran Grayson, who is also from king level. Aaron and Lulu sat silently on the stands as our hero made a mental note that there's some type of flow when it comes to making an aura sword. Just then, Ilya started to emit her aura, including her sword, which Aaron noticed is similar to when he uses his downward slash, the act of emitting aura from the body and infusing it into the sword. But suddenly, Ilya dispersed her aura, much to the crowd's shock, and that's when Aaron overheard the men from his side talking about how she won't be using her aura sword from now on. The other guy was clueless about this, so the other filled him in about the rumors circulating concerning that if these battles were just about swordsmanship, then anyone could not only take on Ilya but beat her as well. Because of this, the champion chose not to use her aura sword anymore. Back to the battle, Grayson asked Ilya if she was being arrogant with what she just did, but the champion denied it. And before the announcer could declare the start of the match, the two swordsmen already made their move, and in an instant, there was a loud clash as they come together to exchange blows. Seeing this, Aaron noticed that it was different this time. The moment both of them swung their swords is when they strengthened their auras in the exact necessary spot. Aaron noticed that both Ilya and Grayson only have their auras on their arms and feet. Just then, Ilya took a swing at her opponent, which the other blocked. Aaron remarked that he only concentrated his aura at Ilya's strike point, which is why he managed to fend off the attack. Seeing this, our hero can't help but comment on Grayson's aura application proficiency, since it's on a whole different level. What's more, he's using the least amount of aura with maximum efficiency. But that's not enough to deter Ilya, who is now in the middle of consecutive attacks. She's relentless, and with every hit, she managed to inflict small pricks in Grayson's body that even the older swordsman admits that he's being overpowered. Now filled with dread, Grayson asks himself if he has now reached his limit. Even he admits that Ilya surpasses him in everything, whether it be in terms of strength, speed, and stamina. He didn't think that the gap between them would be this much, and thought that maybe if he was a little younger, he could have won. But he quickly took the thought back and even wondered if he'll win even if he was much younger now. As he distractedly thought about this, Ilya used this opportunity to deliver a quick and powerful slash that resulted in Grayson's broken blade. Ilya sheathes her sword back as the announcer declared her the winner, successfully defending her title. The crowd chants her name, but our hero only looked on. Sucks to be him, but good gain, brah. 4 days later, Eren is accompanied by Kubaru, with the latter asking him why he wants to meet with Grayson and adding that he might be a little sore since it's only been a few days since he lost. Our hero answered that it was because he wants to ask the older swordsman for a favor, but since it was sudden, he was not sure if the other guy could do it. But Kubaru only assured him and said that he's good drinking buddies with Grayson, so he just needs to trust the orc. Moreover, Kubaru said that it'll be easy to win him over if Eren promises to treat him. At this, Eren couldn't help but feel thankful that he got Kubaru by his side and remarked that he may be able to learn how to train aura application. Soon, they were able to see his manner, and despite being a few meters away, Eren stopped mid-track, which prompted Kubaru to ask him what was wrong. But Eren could feel it. He could sense demonic energy coming from the place. The two of them ran inside quickly, with Kubaru asking his drinking buddy what was going on. Instead, they were met with a sitting Grayson, asking who they were as his demonic aura got stronger. Moreover, Grayson has blood streaming down his cheeks and glares at the two, telling them he doesn't recall inviting anyone over. As the dude turning into a demon, the room was oozing with demonic energy emanating from Grayson as the two stepped into the room. Kubaru was shocked and couldn't believe that he would turn into a demonoid, but Eren assured him that it was all right since the older swordsman hasn't fully transformed yet. Just then, the orc noticed that Eren's energy has changed, and it was not like rough steel anymore. It was denser and much more refined, and he was perfectly controlling the old man's energy. As our hero walked toward Grayson, Eren stands in front of Grayson with the latter asking him why he came, and to this, Eren replied that he has heard that people in Eisenmark like to duel and bet, so he proposed to have a duel with Grayson. The condition is that the loser will have to listen to the winner's requests, and at this, Grayson started to stand up and found Eren's proposal interesting. He smirked and without another word, grabbed his sword, which intensified the demonic aura around his body, and told our hero that what he wants is Eren's life. Eren, on the other hand, procured his sword through sorcery as he readied himself for battle. The air in the room reeked more intensely of demonic aura as soon as the older swordsman grabbed his sword. Grayson dashed straight to Eren to give him multiple powerful slashes, which our hero fended off without a problem. He decided to give another powerful slash to our hero, but he's still calm and fended it off just fine. Seeing that Eren won't budge, the older swordsman decided to hit him from the top, which Eren evaded by getting out of his attack area and turning to the side. As soon as he did, Grayson lunged toward him and swung his sword like a whip. Eren noticed that the older man's fighting style uses irregular movements like a snake, making it hard to predict. Luckily for our hero, he trained with Viscount John Drew and said to himself that he wouldn't be able to react to Grayson's attacks if it weren't for that. Imagine that. Those petty fights were of use after all. Eren continues to defend while the older swordsman keeps coming at him, but there was one obvious difference from this fight compared to the rest. Our hero can now see the flow of aura, and as he did, Eren started to counter since he saw Grayson's feints and true intentions. Our hero swung at his opponent with a powerful blow, leaving Grayson unguarded and shocked, as well as Kubaru, who was watching from the side. The attack literally blew Grayson away, and even the tile floors started flying about. The older man could only look in shock at what just happened, but Eren followed it up with another powerful swing, and this time, Grayson managed to block it, but the older swordsman is confused about what was happening. Why is he being overpowered? The two are now face to face, neither swordsman giving in until Eren decided to push forward, forcing another intense blow on Grayson, who now moved back to evade him. Golden streaks fly everywhere every time Eren swings his sword, as the older swordsman questioned himself if he can't win even with a demon's strength. As soon as Grayson thought that, he lunged at Eren, refusing to accept that he was being overpowered again. Can't imagine being a veteran swordsman and losing to kids twice. Man, my pride would be shattered. As Grayson desperately fought back, the demonic energy grew more intense since he gave in to anger and frustration at how he can't accept being overpowered once again. By now, the older swordsman's physical features started to change and his consciousness is starting to fade, only fueled by anger and demonic energy. Kubaru warns his friend to watch out, but Eren just told him not to worry as he kept his position. Instead of raising his sword, our hero closed his eyes and took a stand, saying he was no longer afraid of demonic energy as his aura produced a golden glow around him. In contrast to Eren, Grayson is now somewhat deformed, brought about by his succumbing to the demonic energy as Aaron infused his sword with aura. Taking a swing at Grayson with a mighty force, there was a clash of gold and purple, but the former proved to be more powerful and an explosive force burst through. As the smoke cleared out, that's when Grayson noticed that his sword is now broken into, but it was still emitting a dark aura. He let go of the sword and dropped to his knees as the demonic energy started to fade from his body. The older swordsman thought to himself that he was finally back, tears streaming down his face now that it was over. Kubaru comes running toward them as Aaron knelt in front of Grayson, who was ready to call it in. But our hero firmly grabbed his arm, and with Grayson's eyes looking like a dead fish, he thanked Aaron with the fire in his heart slowly dying out. The older swordsman thanked Aaron because he was able to spend his last moments as a human, while Kubaru could only look on to his old drinking buddy with sad eyes. The orc noticed that Grayson's fire is getting weaker, and even if it was unfortunate, this is the end for his swordsman friend. Just then, Aaron's voice rang in the room, asking Grayson what he meant by last moments, and as soon as he did, there was a blaze evidently coming from our hero. Kubaru could only look with wide eyes, speechless at what he was seeing as Aaron told the older swordsman that he saw his match from a few days ago. Our hero continued saying he was inspired once he saw him and Ilya fight on par, which further ignited the blaze in Aaron's heart, adding that he wants to become stronger like Grayson. Suddenly, the air changed inside the room, and in place of the violet energy, there was this golden glow coming from Aaron as our hero continued to praise Grayson's last match with Ilya. There are strips of golden light surrounding both swordsmen as Aaron thanked Grayson for showing him such a brilliant fight. Immediately, the fortune teller orc noticed that the flame in Grayson's heart is starting to burn once more, with the older swordsman returning to his natural state. What's this? Can Aaron transfer life force now? Back to our hero, who's now surrounded by his flickering golden aura. He reminded the older swordsman of their bet and that the loser has to do what the winner wants. Since Aaron is the winner, what he wants is for the older swordsman to continue showing his amazing battles to people. As he said this, Aaron touched Grayson on the shoulder, with the other man's fire now burning just as bright as Aaron's. But what about Aaron's training on how to train aura application, and will it be enough to surpass Ilya? Tune in for more next time.